you are traveling with a stroller, please have children.
Everybody means welcome, folks, so welcome aboard. Very excited to see you today. Thanks for joining us out here. Another word that we love to use on here in Harambe is twin day, which means let's go. Alrighty, well, Jumbo everyone, and good morning. My name is Ryan, and I'll be your safari guide today as we make our way through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. A couple reminders for us as we hit the road. Please be sure to stay fully seated for me at all times. Keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle as well, even when we do come to a complete stop. Now, folks, the roads out here can get quite bumpy. This is a real truck, and I am really driving it. Please be sure to hold tightly onto any and all loose personal items you brought on board. I do recommend that you keep your cameras and cell phones out, though have them open, ready to snap some photos. We will not be able to stop for every animal that we see out here. And believe it or not, they do like to sneak up on us as well, so make sure you've always got those cameras and cell phones out and ready to go. If you look above your head in the truck, you'll see that we provided an animal spotting guide up there for you. Based on certain factors such as dietary habits and migration patterns, I can't say that we're likely to run into each and every one of those animals up there today, but I can say that we do usually get pretty lucky out here. Let's hopefully we get pretty lucky this morning. Hasn't gotten too hot out here today. Hopefully the animals aren't napping in the shade just yet. Our first stop on the reserve today, though, will be in the Little Literary Forest, where animals like to rely on their natural camouflage to blend right on into their surroundings. That's why it's extra important for us to keep a close eye on all the bushes, all the trees, tops of all the hills, across all the watering holes, and we'll see what we can find out here together today. If you look up ahead of us there on our left-hand side, you're going to find a greater kudu right up here on the hill to the left. A couple of them, actually. Right up there toward the very top of the hill out in front of us. The greater kudu is a type of forest-dwelling antelope. You can tell that they're female because they do not have any horns, but the horns on the male greater kudu can reach a whopping 6 feet long. A bit harder to see, but look across the water there on the right-hand side, right by that tree stump there. That's an okapi directly out there on your right. The okapi is often mistaken to be a relative of the zebra, thanks to their beautiful striped hind legs, which I like to call their party pants. But they are, in fact, the only known relative of the giraffe. Up there on the left-hand side, too, that copper-colored antelope with the twisted horns, that is a bongo, nicknamed the ghost of the forest because they are rarely seen. And when they are seen, they like to move very silently through the trees and the bushes. Now, the okapi there to the right-hand side was once nicknamed the African unicorn before they were discovered by Westerners in the year 1901. That's because their existence was believed to be a myth. However, their existence was, of course, known to the native African populations who have been living among them for generations before that. They're also known to communicate infrasonically as well, which is just a fancy way of saying at a frequency below the level of human hearing. They're going to tell each other little secrets that we humans just can't hear. We've gotten pretty lucky so far. Let's keep on looking around here, checking our surroundings. If you look very closely, right toward the very top of the hill up ahead on our left-hand side, up ahead by the rock wall there, you'll see a black rhino. Pretty much the same exact color as that wall, just at the base of the wall there, laying down. The black rhino is the smallest of the rhino species here in Africa. They weigh only about 3,000 pounds. So not quite tiny, but definitely small compared to other rhinos, that's for sure. They are unfortunately poached out in the wild for their horns, which are made of keratin, the same material as our hair and fingernails. Just like our hair and nails, though, if cremated, those horns on the rhino will continue to grow and grow throughout the rhino's entire life. To our left there is a saddle-billed stork. That beautiful black and white bird does have a wingspan of up to 9 feet wide when fully outstretched. That's just about the width of the truck that we're sitting on right now, so very wide indeed. Unlike other birds which tweet and chirp, the saddle-billed stork communicates merely by rattling its bill, and they do mate for life as well. We've gotten very lucky so far. There is a bit of a fork in the road here, but I think we'll keep traveling north, and I'll take you folks down toward the Safi River, which is an important water source to the animals of the forest. Now, one animal to keep an eye out for down here today will be the Nile hippo. They can hold their breath for up to 8 minutes at a time under the water, and they like to sleep down there as well. Usually just a bit cooler for them temperature-wise than up here on land. We'll find 2 of them sleeping in back there behind us on our right-hand side. Not very easy to see unless you're on the right. So for those of us on the left, let's keep on going. Hopefully we'll find some more up ahead that are a bit easier for us to see. Or at least now you know what you're looking for, more or less. But there are some pink-backed pelicans across the water here on the right-hand side as well. They get their name from the delicate pink color that appears on the skin of their backs during mating season, almost like they're blushing. Here to our left-hand side are some more hippos in the shade there next to that island on the left, just poking out of the water a tad. Now, they can swim, but they do prefer to walk or run along the bottom of the river. Be sure to keep an eye out for any gliding objects way down there that might look like big submerged rocks till they start to move. They will come fully onto the riverbank, mainly at nighttime, to graze for their food, and they're certainly not an animal that you want to mess with up here on land. Believe it or not, they can charge at speeds of up to 35 miles an hour. For reference, we're currently charging along, if you will, at a solid 4 miles an hour, so they would certainly beat us in a race, no doubt about it. Now, the name for a group of hippos is a bloat, and the name for a group of pelicans is a pod. That was also a pod of pink-backed pelicans we saw back there. I see a couple more of those hippos by that farthest back waterfall on the left-hand side, just enjoying the motion of the river, that nice cold water coming down. And there are some Nile crocodiles there on the left as well. And the Nile crocodile can reach lengths between 10 and 20 feet long. That's just about as long as the giraffe is tall. They do mainly eat fish, but they are known to eat anything and everything to cross their path. Not sure about you, but with the way this bridge is sounding, I certainly don't want to be sticking around here for too long. As a matter of fact, let's get out of here. Alrighty, well, we are going to be leaving the river now. We're going to head on down toward the savanna. Unlike those shy and reclusive animals we've encountered so far today, the animals out on the savanna like to rely on their speed and agility, oftentimes to catch their prey. And I gotta tell you, folks, they're usually just a tad easier for us to spot out there as well, in the wide open grasslands of the reserve. Alrighty, well, an early sign that we're approaching that savanna is going to be this tree over here to the right-hand side. It's known as the baobab tree, nicknamed the upside-down tree. The baobab will remain leafless up to 9 months out of the year, and it's going to store up to 30,000 gallons of water in its trunk, which can be incredibly useful during the intense periods of drought out here, kind of like a big natural water tower. In the meantime, though, just like that, looks like we've made our way out onto the savanna. The savanna is home to some of Africa's most famous and well-known animals, such as lions, giraffes, and zebras, to name just a few. And once again, be sure to keep an eye on the animal spotting guide over your head in the truck, and of course another eye on our beautiful surroundings out here. And let's see, looks like we're gonna get pretty lucky down here. I do see some zebras and giraffes out there in the distance, a couple types of antelopes out there too. You'll notice that the leaves on these trees here to the right all start at about the same height off the ground, and that's because that's about as high as the tallest giraffe out here can reach. The Maasai giraffe does have quite the appetite. They actually spend up to 15 hours of the day just eating, and each and every giraffe eats about 75 pounds of leaves a day, each and every day. We'll see a family of Hartman's mountain zebras out there. Look very closely, you'll find 2 baby zebras among them with there. They're only about a couple months old, I'd say, maybe 2 or 3 months old. Now, each and every zebra has a completely unique pattern to their coat, the same way that each and every human has a completely unique fingerprint. Means that when a baby zebra is born, that baby's going to memorize its mother's coat to help differentiate her from the rest of the group. The name for a group of zebras is a dazzle, and they're also referred to as a zeal. Over there to the left-hand side, you might find some African wild dogs. They're also referred to as African painted dogs, but despite either name, they're actually closer related to the fox than they are to the domestic dog or to the hyena. They're laying very flat out there. They got black, brown, and white splotchy coats. Don't be fooled by their seemingly gentle and restful nature hiding out there. They are one of the world's top apex predators. Got a very high success rate in catching their prey, placing them pretty much right near the top of the food chain out in the wild. Up ahead of us here, we'll find the huge horns of some Ankole cattle to our left-hand side. These horns can reach 6 feet tip to tip. Now, they are mainly hollow on the inside, though blood does circulate into and out of those horns to help cool down the body temperature of the cattle. Fancy word for that is thermoregulation. Here's a better view of the Hartman's mountain zebras here to our right-hand side. People often wonder whether the zebra is black with white stripes or white with black stripes, but I can tell you all, the Hartman's mountain zebra, the species here to our right, they are in fact black with white stripes. You can tell that by looking at their noses, which are black. But there are other species that have a light pink nose, which suggests that those species are white with black stripes. Long story short, different species do come different ways. Gonna get a closer look at the massage giraffes up ahead here. We'll also find 2 elands there to the right-hand side. The eland is the largest antelope out here on the reserve, measuring up to 6 feet tall at the shoulder when fully grown. Eland is a highly endangered species, but 50% of them worldwide do live in protected wildlife areas just like this one. So we are very intent on protecting them, keep them around as a species for as long as we can. And the massage giraffe can reach heights of approximately 17 feet tall. They're also well known for their incredibly long prehensile tongues, which can reach lengths of 18 inches long at the length of the tip of your pointer finger all the way up to your elbow. And prehensile is just a fancy word that means they use their tongues the same way that we humans use our fingers. They're going to use their tongues to grasp at leaves and twigs over their heads. And they also use their tongues to clean out their own eyes and ears. Not sure how tasty that would be, but that's just me. Different strokes for different folks, I guess you could say. But the massage giraffe is a restless creature. They sleep only about 30 minutes a day. That's not all at one side. They're just a couple short naps that add up to 30 minutes total. And they're going to sleep standing up or sitting down, but never fully laying down, as they always like to remain at least semi-aware of their surroundings, just in case of potential predators in the area. Though they are gentle giants, the massage giraffe certainly has a very powerful kick when it's provoked out in the wild. Their legs alone are between 6 and 8 feet tall when fully grown. Now, way up there on the hill to the right-hand side, you'll find some wildebeest way up toward the very top out there in the distance. The wildebeest do migrate 1,000 miles during their migration season. The baby wildebeest can be up and running with the rest of the herd only 15 minutes after they're born. And that's because they're usually born during their migration season. In just a bit of a tough love approach, they've got no choice but to keep up with the herd or be left behind. They're also referred to as gnu, that's G-N-U after the sound of the beak, and they get the name wildebeest from the Afrikaans word for wild beast, as the name might suggest. And when gathered together in large groups, wildebeest are sometimes referred to as a confusion or an implausibility. That's because when one wildebeest starts to run, all the others will start running too, even if they're not quite sure why they're running or where they're running. Once again, though, they do migrate 1,000 miles each and every year. They do run with a purpose most of the time. At this point, though, we're about halfway through the reserve. You've gotten very lucky so far today. These baobab trees up ahead of us do signify we are, in fact, still on the savannah, though the landscape is changing just a bit up ahead here. If you look very closely up ahead of us here on the left-hand side, you might start to notice some big flapping ears here on the left. It's the ears of some African elephants right through these trees up ahead on our left-hand side. Now, it is getting very rare for us to see an elephant out in the wild these days. They are facing poaching for their beautiful ivory tusks. They're also facing habitat destruction. Their homes are being destroyed at an alarming rate, which is pushing them closer and closer to human environments against their will. Out in the wild, though, they love hanging out near sources of water like this one up ahead here. They're going to dip their trunks into the water, splash it onto their backs, or drink it all down. Either way helps keep these elephants cool and hydrated on a bit of a hotter day like today. You'll see them use their prehensile trunks there to grab that grass off the ground and bring it right into their mouths. They do have more muscles in their trunks than we humans have in our entire bodies, believe it or not, and their trunks are also longer than the average adult human is tall, believe it or not. Up ahead of us here to our left-hand side, we'll find a whole big group of flamingos, several dozen of them gathered together. The name for a group of flamingos is flamboyants. These are greater flamingos to our left, the lightest pink of the flamingo species. They get their pink color from the brine shrimp that they love to eat, which is high in beta-carotene. The baby flamingo will hatch gray. It'll take up to 1 full year for them to start turning pink. By the time they reach about their 2nd birthday, though, they're usually just about fully grown and fully pink as well, or at least as pink as they're going to get, which is that very light shade of pink there on our left, shining almost white in the sun. But in the meantime, the area of the reserve that we are entering now is known as the mud wallow, which is a favorite savanna ecosystem of the white rhinos on the reserve. The white rhinos do share that same sensitive skin as the elephants. They love to roll around in this big puddle of mud up ahead of us here to help soothe and protect their skin from the sun. The mud dries onto their back and acts like a natural sunblock for them. So there they are, just out there on the left-hand side, hanging out in the shade for now. And due to poaching for their horns, the white rhino is a highly endangered species, but there are quite a few that call the Wildlife Reserve home. Keep your eyes out for even more in the area. Even though we have a great view of them out here, believe it or not, they cannot see us one bit. They don't have the best eyesight. They can only see about 10 feet in front of their faces, and what they can see is mainly shadow. Even that one that's just a bit closer to us, if he would turn around and look at the others, he could not see them one bit. What they lack in sight, though, they make up for 10 times over in hearing. Even though the white rhinos cannot see us still or the truck behind us, they can hear us both before we even rounded that corner back there. They can hear us back by the flamingos and even back by the elephants, too. They're always aware of their surroundings. Now up here in the shade on the hill to our left are some cheetahs lounging just up there at the hill. In the darkest part of the shade there, or one of the darkest parts. The cheetah is the fastest land animal. They can charge at speeds of 60 miles an hour, attaining that speed in just 3 seconds from a standing position. Of course, though, the cheetah is a sprinter, not an endurance runner. They're only going to sustain that speed of 60 miles an hour for a couple hundred yards at a time before tiring out. Other than that, though, the cheetah is the only big cat to hunt during the daytime. They're also the only big cat that can purr as well. I see one more napping up there toward the top of the hill on our left. Just way in the back there. But in the meantime, speaking of big cats, we're coming up on the Kobe Rock Formation here. You might just recognize these rocks up ahead from the Lion King. Lions do love to lay on rocks like these because they provide an excellent vantage point from which to view potential prey. Might be able to hear a lion today before we can see one. A lion's roar can be heard up to 5 miles away. If we don't happen to see any lions out here today, though, that could just be because they're resting. They do sleep between 16 and 20 hours a day, each and every day. That should not be misinterpreted, though, as a sign of laziness. They like to conserve their energy for the nightly hunt. There's one napping on the rocks there to the left-hand side. We get a pretty good view as we continue to round this corner here. And the name for a group of lions is a pride, and the females of that pride will do the majority of the hunting. If you look really closely above the lion, there's a lioness resting on the ledge right above him there, blending right in with the rocks. The lioness will gather together in small groups at nighttime, hunt their prey as a team, while the male lion will typically stay back to guard any cubs and protect the habitat from potential invasion. And the lion is a mainly nocturnal animal. That's because their eyesight is just about as good as ours is during the daytime. Once the sun goes down, though, their eyesight can be up to 6 times better than ours is at night. They'll take advantage of their natural night vision to help guide them through the nightly hunt out in the wild. Here on the reserve, though, they'll stay on these shady rocks in the morning. They will retreat into the darkness and coolness of their cave once it gets a bit warmer out here, especially on those rocks. They'll emerge from that cave, though, just around sunset, start to prowl around on the rocks once again, getting more and more energized the darker and cooler it gets this evening. In the meantime, though, looks like Pumbaa must have moved in near Simba and Nala. These are warthog burrows here to our left-hand side. The warthog is the largest burrowing animal. They like to reuse burrows made by other animals. They also like to completely bury their entire bodies in mud, which will help protect against intense heat and bothersome insects, too. Up ahead here in the shade on the right-hand side, we'll find a couple of ostriches. The ostrich is the largest of the bird species, but despite their large wingspan, they are, of course, a flightless bird. And male ostriches have black feathers, females will have gray, so those are 3 females out there. They're about 7 feet tall, standing fully upright. The males can be up to 9 feet tall in comparison. One of the ostriches has laid some eggs recently, which we are very excited about. I'll show you these eggs right over here on the grass to the right-hand side. About 30, 40 feet back from us right there. Kind of half in the sun, half in the shade on the right. The ostrich eggs are incredibly strong and incredibly heavy as well. The average adult human could stand on one of those eggs with their entire body weight and not even crack it. And one ostrich egg weighs about the same as 2 dozen chicken eggs. Very strong and quite heavy indeed, practically indestructible. Alrighty, well, we are going to be leaving the savannah now. We're going to head back toward the village, but we do have just one more stop to make before we go back there. That stop is here in Magadi Glen. Magadi Glen is home to the post of our reserve warden, which we can start to see up ahead here through the trees. The reserve warden is in charge of taking care of all the animals out here on the reserve, a very important responsibility, and it looks as though the warden has domesticated some Nigerian dwarf goats. These might look like cute little baby goats here, the warden's yard on the left-hand side, but they are in fact fully grown adults. This is just about as big as they're gonna get, hence they are named dwarf goats. They are one of two commonly domesticated animals out here on the reserve, and they're domesticated by the villagers of Harambe for their milk, which has a very sweet taste and is beneficial to us villagers both nutritionally and financially. The goats are also known for their highly playful nature too, and it's that playful nature that'll help them to establish a sense of dominance within the group. Alrighty folks, well just because you're leaving the reserve today does not mean that your part in helping these animals and their habitats has to end just yet. Acts as simple as recycling your paper and plastic products and conserving energy and water whenever and wherever you can go a surprisingly long way to help make sure that the animals we were all lucky enough to see back there today, many of whom are endangered, not only continue to survive out there in the wild, but of course continue to thrive and prosper as well. Now the beauty of all these acts is that they can all be done from wherever in the world you happen to live, and they can all be done starting today. Now once again folks, my name is Ryan E. It's been my absolute pleasure to be your safari guide today. If you do have any questions or comments you'd like to share, I would love to hear from you. My window is quite literally always open, so please don't hesitate to come right on up to the vehicle after the safari's over. If we have any wilderness explorers on board today, you've been riding aboard the Simba 1. That's Simba and the number 1, so don't forget to select your badge. And be sure to take a good look around the vehicle before you go. Double and triple check your rows. It's been a slow but very bumpy journey out here today. Stuff may have fallen out of your pockets or bags into either the floor of the vehicle or the bench next to you. We don't want anyone to leave anything important behind. Take that good look around the vehicle once again before you go. Alrighty folks, so it looks like the time has come to say goodbye, but to say goodbye is way too sad and far too final. Instead, out here in Harambe, we like to say Kwaherini, which means to go well with the hope that one day we'll meet again. So Kwaherini folks, hope you go well, hope you go wild, and most importantly, hope you enjoy the rest of your day out here at Disney's Animal Kingdom, or wherever your journeys might take you the rest of the day. Alrighty folks, on the right, watch your hands, arms, feet, and legs. Doors are sliding open for you, and watch your step down as you exit. Kwaherini, have yourself a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us out here. Anytime, thank you. Thank you, appreciate it. Have a great day.